Hey guys, so to continue on with the unboxing of the 1/100 scale Mechanicore Tief Sturmer, let's get right into it because we have a lot of runners and things to get through. So first thing, I just want to show you guys another quick look at some of this extra kind of non-runner stuff. First, here is our V-fin. If I remember correctly, this is like a zinc alloy or something like that. And then here on the back shows you how to put together the metal beam sabers with the LED in there. So you have to take apart these metal beam saber handles and then put your little tiny batteries inside there, which are not included, and then the beam effect parts. So here's the beam effect parts for this kit. Two of them, very long. I doubt you're going to use two or even one of these, but they do include these if you want. These are actually from their previous kit. If you can see, this is labeled Runner X. This is from their Zerstore kit. So these are the same ones that they've been using for a couple kits now. Just to give you another look again at all the screws and things like that, we do have, aside from just screws, there are a couple of these are like effect parts, so not like effect parts, but like detail up parts, so like little detail screw parts they'll be putting on. We have a few different sizes of them, from these very large ones to some really tiny small ones in there. And here is everything else that we get for metal stuff. Here's some LED wiring, some LEDs for going inside these thrusters there. So these are going to be like going inside behind the thruster bells, and the LEDs and batteries are mounted inside there, and thruster bells are connected. Here is our photo etch parts, so really small compared to their previous kits. There's only a handful of them on there. And these big die-cast metal parts are for basically like the backbone of the kit to support everything on the back of it. And then this little key-shaped piece here in the center is the one peg that the entire kit will be sitting on. So we have the base that I talked about that I was worried about if that's going to be able to support the weight. This is that peg that's going to be sitting on. So it's nice that the peg is metal, but you know, that is still going to be a lot of weight sitting on top of just that one little peg there. So we'll have to see how that's going to hold up. The rest of the runners for this kit are labeled 1 through 38. So here's runner 1, and these are obviously the 3 main parts for the base, the center part, and then the 2 parts going off to the side. Very big, very heavy, thick plastic in sort of a like clear black. It's kind of interesting choice there. And yeah, it seems they're pretty solid. Like, it's going to be pretty solid, but still, you know, that's going to be a lot of weight up on top of that. Runner 2 is the remainder of those parts for the base, like the main vertical arm for that. These are the 2. So that key piece, that metal key piece that I showed you, the peg, those are going to be held by these 2 pieces. Are going to clamp around that, which are connected to like at the top of here, and etc. And then we even have like, these are a few like detail pieces for going on the side, like here, and then like in these little holes there, I guess. And then interesting, we have the same piece here. So I guess maybe they originally designed this to be a plastic piece, and then maybe at the end they were like, no, we better just make a metal piece of that. Because I know that metal like backbone piece that I talked about, that was added pretty late in the production, so I'm guessing that they maybe added this part here as well very late. Runner 3 now is obviously some very large mechanical parts. These are going to be some basically structural parts. I'm thinking that this is probably inside the booster part in the center of the backpack, and then this one maybe somewhere around there as well. Just to give you an idea of how these runners are marked, you can see they're marked as Project 0033 Tief Sturmer. And runner 04 is going to be more of these light gray parts. These are mostly going in on the cannon and backpack anyway, around some more of these like structural parts. These parts here I know are going on the cannon. We have like a sort of like parts, got some like missiles housed in the back. And just to give you an idea about the number here, I mentioned it's Project 0033. If you're unfamiliar with the material that this is based off, the Deep Striker is Project 303, so they just kind of changed the numbers around a little bit. Runner 5, more light gray structural parts, and you can see lots of really cool, nice little detail in there. Once you go in and like actually you're painting all this stuff and just painting all these little details, and this is just like the inner pieces, and then we have all the different layers of outer armor and stuff like that, everything else going on. It's going to be so much detail packed into this thing. Runner 6 is still in the same gray light color, but we're starting to get into some smaller parts here. Not really able to identify where a lot of these are going to be going, but you know, just some more gray pieces there. Runner 7 is now getting into our white color. We've got a few very large pieces on here, and you can see here one piece fell off. A lot of these parts I've had, like, just from checking all the runners, I had like 6, 7, or 8 parts that had like fallen off the runners, and probably more through the course of just filming this video. Probably more are going to fall off. Just be careful, just keep track, be careful when you're checking all the parts and runners, everything, when you're taking stuff out of the bags, that some parts are going to fall off. It's one problem that they've had with all of their kits is that the parts fall off the runners quite easily. Just have to be careful not to lose anything. Here you can see one of the things that I don't really necessarily like about Mechanicore kits is that a lot of their panel lines are very large. So we have just these very, very thick, deep panel lines there. It just doesn't really look as good as like on Bandai kits, I think. Another thing, and I'm not sure if you're really going to be able to see it very well, the other thing that Mechanicore is known for, sort of, and not in a good way, is that the texture, the plastic texture is not very smooth. It's pretty good. It feels alright on this one, actually, better than previous kits, but it's going to differ, I think, for different runners. But, so yeah, you will have to do a lot of sanding unless you're okay with that texture. It's just going to be up to you. Runner 8, a bunch more of these white parts here. And then runner 9, you can see we're starting to get a few more easily recognizable parts here. All these fins on the side, obviously. And then here's our 2 parts for the sides of the head. So you can see some pretty nice details in there on those parts. Here at the bottom is the piece for the top of the head, as well as the faceplate piece, and you can see I've got quite a little bit of flash there on that. That's the other thing that you're going to have on these kits, is a lot of flash to have to clean up on the edges of parts. So yeah, just be prepared to do a lot of sanding. Runner 10 is a pretty interesting one, as here we've got what seems to be all of the parts for one of the leg thrusters, one of the fuel tanks for the legs, I should say, or maybe just all of the parts that we're going to need a lot of duplicates of, because we actually have 4 10 runners, so 4 of these number 10s. And then runner 11 as well is also more fuel tank parts, because we're going to have doubles of this one as well. This time only 2 of these 11 runners. Runner 12 is in this very light beige color. It's a pretty nice color actually, and I have this part here. This is another example of a part that came off this other one there, but here you can see just a few parts there. I believe this one is, this big round part is obviously going to be for the disc radome. These longer parts though, maybe parts for the cannon or the sensor arm, I'm not really sure. Runner 13, just these 4 big huge white pieces here. Obviously not very much detail on there. These are going to be just some structural parts, I believe, probably for the cannon. Runner 14 is again more big giant white parts here. Here's just to give you a look at some of the detail on this guy. You can see, so there's a lot of nice detail on there. And runner 15, again, just more of these big white parts and a few smaller ones there as well. Runner 16 is now back to this gray color, but different from the gray color we had before. I think this is a little bit darker now. So we are going to have quite a few different tones of like white and gray for this kit, but these are just some larger gray parts. Runner 17 is the same gray color, some still large parts, then a couple of smaller parts there as well. Runner 18 is now once again back to white, so we just have a few very large parts, including these wing parts and this piece which fell out of this section here. And then number 19, we do have doubles of this runner, 19. Interestingly, here you can see what would appear to be parts for the sides of the legs. Now, one interesting thing about their design this time, which is different from the Canon design, the actual Deep Striker's design, so the Deep Striker doesn't really have much for legs. Its legs are, of course, replaced with the boosters. This design actually has pretty much kind of the legs. It's basically like the leg is there and the booster is sort of built around the leg, so it's kind of interesting there, that difference in design. Now, taking a break from the giant runners for a moment is runner 20, which is just our parts for our hands. So you can see we're going to have individually articulated fingers, but not really sure how useful those are going to be when really all we're going to want the hands to do is hold the beam smart gun, and even the left side we're not even going to use that hand, me personally. But then back to some big gray runners here. We've got runner 21, and as speaking about the frame again here, or the leg I should say, here is the kind of inner frame part of the leg. You can see there's lots of really nice detail in there for even the inner frame of a leg, which is going to be totally hidden and from sight. And we do have two of these runners 21. Then runner 22 is once again back to white, and we do have two of these runners here as well. And 23 is once again back to gray. Again, more inner sort of structural pieces here. Runner 24 is, you guessed it, more big gray structural pieces here. We do have, again, just a lot of really nice detail on here. You can see some of these parts, like some of this detail here, inside of there, even this part, which I'm not sure maybe where that's going, maybe inside the sensor arm, I'm not sure, possibly. And then a lot of nice details there. Runner 25 is just some more big gray parts here. These are obviously some parts for the thrusters. So I'm guessing that maybe the LED unit's going to be housed inside of here, possibly somewhere in there, that part. And this runner, we do have 4 of the 25 runner as well. And then 26, runner 26 is back to white for some more of these outer armor parts here. And again, just to look at some of that detail on there. Runner 27 is a couple of really huge parts and then a handful of smaller gray parts. Runner 28 is just a bunch of smaller gray parts, and we do have doubles of these. They're a very tightly packed runner with a load of parts on there. Runner 29, this looks like a lot of these parts, probably maybe not all, but it looks like a lot of them are going to be parts for the beam smart gun. So like these would be like the back half, parts of the barrel there, a bunch of other detailed parts here. You can see the handle. Interestingly about the handle, I can see is that it doesn't look like it's using any sort of peg system. So holding on to that is probably not going to be easy. Of course, I haven't looked at the manual closely exactly how that's going to work, but it looks like you might have to be using some pegs in the hand. You might have to be drilling some peg holes, using that, or glue, or a combination of both to be able to actually hold this rifle. We're now up into the 30s as we've got runner 30 here, and we're finally seeing some color. Mostly it's just been white and gray and different variations of those all the way up until now. We're finally seeing some color. This is a very, very pinkish, very fluorescent, pinkish red color. Like the water slide decals, I was very surprised how like fluorescent pink those were. It's the same thing here with this plastic. Obviously, it's just a lot of different parts here, including some parts for the chest and other areas on there. But it's quite a bright pink color. And then we've got runner 31. It's going to be the remainder of our pinkish, reddish accent colors here. There's obviously parts for the shoulders there, for the feet as well. You can see is the underside of the feet. It's not going to have like traditional feet, sort of, but they're there. They're kind of like opened in sort of a weird way, but they are there. And we do have 2 of this runner. And then runner 32 is just back to a sort of off-white color. This is a little bit off-white, beigeish color again here. And this runner as well do have 2 of these. And then runner 33, again in that same kind of beigeish off-white color. Again, just a lot more detail parts for going inside the disc radome. We're going to have LEDs popping out through those holes on there. Runner 34 is going to be our other splash of color, which is yellow. We're going to have a lot of yellow accent little color applications all over the kit. Mostly going to be making up like vents and things like that. As you can see, a lot of these are different like vent and other little detail piping parts. And our V-fin, interestingly, here has some extra packaging on it, which is to help keep the V-fin nice and safe. Now, of course, if you have the pre-order bonus, you have the metal one, but we have this plastic one just in case as well. I think probably for me, I'll use the plastic one first, just because, and then like if for some reason later on down the line, if the plastic one breaks, you know, I always have the metal one for backup. But we actually have two of these because we have two of these runners. So you have two plastic ones and a metal one, plenty of V-fins. You don't have to worry about those breaking. And then runner 35 is getting into our chrome plated parts. Now, originally at first when I pulled this out, I thought it didn't look very good. Now I can see it really doesn't look too bad, but I'm just not really a fan of like chrome plating on kits. I don't think it looks very realistic, so even on like some of these like smaller detail parts, I don't really too much care for it. The thrusters, honestly, it looks okay, but I think if you were to just leave just the thrusters chrome and like nothing else on the kit chrome, they would kind of stand out and look a little bit strange, I think. So probably going to be stripping all of this. From my experience of stripping chrome plating on the Kshatriya, which is from the same company sort of basically, I just stripped this using bleach. So just soak them in bleach for about, I think it was like 24, 48 hours or something like that. Should take off that chrome plating. And we do have two of this runner, so we're going to have lots and lots of thruster bells. And then more chrome plating here on runner 36 now. And this is just a bunch more little small detail parts, little pistons, little piping, and things like that, all in shiny chrome. And getting down to the last few runners here, and they're all very small in comparison. This is runner 37A, which is going to be our polycap sheet. As if you can see, it's not very big, really only a small handful of them. For a kit like this, I think we really wouldn't want or need too many polycaps. Everything is pretty much going to want to be pretty fixed. Then 37C is some clear yellow parts. So you can see we have a lot of really nice detail inside there. It's molded onto the back. On the front is just flat. So we're going to have a lot of really nice detail when you get the LEDs shining through there. And then runner 37C, the same story here for these green parts. A lot of really small little green clear parts there, and then a couple of larger ones here. And the very last one is the smallest, runner 38. Just four tiny little vent pieces here molded in yellow. I'm guessing those are going on the head, would be my guess. And that is it for all of these runners. So a crazy amount of stuff in this box. Now you guys have seen the entire unboxing for this. A lot of people have been asking me when I'm going to be starting working on this. Am I going to be doing work in progress videos or live streaming, or how long is it going to take me to do this? I have no plans of getting started on this right away. It's just way too big of a project for me to have time to really try to work on this now when I have a lot of other projects that I want to finish first. So this is temporarily going to be going into the backlog, probably more than temporarily. It's probably going to be there for a while, but I will be working on this eventually. So anyway, for the meantime, it's just going to be hanging out. Hope this video was interesting for you guys. To those of you who are lucky enough to get this kit, congratulations. You now have a very big project on your hands. For anyone who has not been lucky enough or not able to get this kit yet, good luck, and that is pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.